iHeart, get ready. Fantasy football is here. Welcome to the Scout Fantasy Show. ScoutFantasy.com is home to the Fantasy Football World Championships and the best players in the world. Real money winners giving their secrets to help you win. Now exclusively on iHeart. This is the Scout Fantasy Show with your host, the one, the only, Dr. Roto.
Dr. Roto. Get out the insurance cards. Get out the copay. The office? It's open, my friends. All right. We're going to cover a few things tonight, or today, or right now. How about that? We're going to cover a little bit about the Thursday night game, and we're certainly going to cover a little bit about the bye week bidding and the free agent bidding, right? I say bye week bidding because, right, we're bidding because our guys are on bye and we need to know what to do. We've got injuries, we've got bye weeks. We have to figure it out, and it is absolutely, unequivocally not easy, right? It's not easy. So we're going to do a lot of things here today. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to go into some of the blind bidding results here from my various leagues. So one league I'm in, Niall Davis went for $289. Pierre Garçon went for $203. Ty Montgomery went for $158. Richard Matthews went for $112. So let's compare that to, if the bids were good. Niall was $289, the next bid was $203. Garçon was $203, the next bid was $98. Montgomery was $158, the next bid was $121. So I guess those bids were pretty reasonable in that league. Niall Davis is high, but it makes sense. I wasn't going to pay it. I only paid it in a couple of leagues, but I wasn't going to pay it. But Garçon seems to be a little high to me. I like the Ty Montgomery. I thought that was a very good buy at $158. All right, let me take a look at another league here. So let's see. This league, Niall Davis went for $266. The next high was $187. Ty Montgomery went for $211. The next high was $169. Mike Davis went for $134. I like Mike Davis. That's a good play. Next bid was $28. Bills defense went for $112. That's very high. Very high for a defense. I don't care how good the Bills are. The next highest bid was $33. I don't spend more than, I don't know, if I really, really, really wanted a defense, I guess I'm going $40. I'm not paying $100 for defense. No, thank you. No, thank you. That's not going to work for me. All right, let's go to another league. This one is a bunch of heavy hitters in this league. Let me see what's going on here. This league, Niall Davis went for $376. The next highest bid was $259. Kendall Wright went to the same guy, $349. So he spent $376 and $349. And the next highest bid was $89 on Wright. Ty Montgomery went for $341 to Kimura, and the next highest bid was $258. Eric Ebron, the injured Eric Ebron, went for $259. Chad Schrader, one of the top players out there, Tyler Lockett at $192. That's not bad. That's not bad. Look, he could be a very good player. He could be a very good player. So I think that's something, to look at and see. Wendell Smallwood went for $13. I think that's a very, very clever play there. All right, let's see the next one here. Another league that I'm in. This one, team's doing rather well. The blind bidding results. Ty Montgomery, $510. That's somebody who's saying, hey, I'm getting this guy no matter what. $510. That is astronomical. Woohoo! Next highest bid was $161, so I think that person overpaid. Niall Davis was $277. The next highest bid was $210. So we see Niall Davis is going into that $250 to $300 range. Mike Davis went for $112. The next highest bid was $51. Kendall Wright went for $102. The next highest bid was $60. My team got Chris Ivory at $77. The next highest bid was $49. Jack Doyle went. CJ Fedorowicz, we got at $45. The next highest bid is $39. I love to see that. I love to see where I bid $45 and the other guy's $40. That means I was in the right place, right? That means I was in the right place. Here's another one here. This is the Scout Fantasy Invitational, Top 100 Invitational. Ty Montgomery went for 338. The next highest one was 215. Niall Davis, 221. And then the next highest bid was 134. So we see, and Kendall Wright was 140. So Montgomery, Davis, and Wright were the guys. Those were the guys in play this week. But Montgomery was 338. So that's a team that tells me that they really, really, really needed a wide receiver. In my auction league, Ty Montgomery went, wow, this was close. 277. And the next highest bid was 275. Wow. I bid Niall Davis at 164, and the next highest bid was 55. I thought that was very strange at 164. So let me explain my 164 bid. I really didn't want Niall Davis, but I didn't want not to be in on the Niall Davis bid. So I threw in a number where I said, all right, if I get him, great, but if I don't get him, I'm not interested. I got Kendall Wright in this league for $80. Nobody else bid on him. Where in the other leagues, he was going for $200, $300, $400. So I don't know what this tells you as much as it says each team needs to do what it needs to. Each team in a different league needs to do what it has to do. I felt very lucky to get those guys for those prices when I'm seeing other leagues and other prices. Here we go. Niall Davis, $407. Next highest bid was $156. Ty Montgomery, $336. Next highest bid was $237. Jack Doyle, $156. The next highest bid was $113. Kendall Wright went for $124. Right? Then a guy here spent $100 on Mike Davis. The next highest bid was $1. So what does that tell you? I mean, pretty crazy. I like the Mike Davis pick, but when the next highest bid was $1, it tells you overpaid. It tells you overpaid. So online championships are a little different. So those are main events. Here in the online championship, I got Ty Montgomery at 156. Next highest bid was 144. Kendall Wright went for 189. There was no even other bid. I find in the online championships, the bids are less. People are more conservative, where people in the main events bid more aggressively. Mike Davis here was $62. The next bid was $18. Niall Davis was $100. Next bid was $12. Right? I'll show you one more here. In another online championship that I was in, I think I also got Ty Montgomery. Right, 144. Nobody even bid on it. Jack Doyle went for $257. Niall Davis went for $127. It just wasn't a lot of money. Eric Ebron went for $8. Whereas when I told you before, he went for $300, right? So people in different leagues will pay different amounts of money because of how desperate they are. In a league where you're trying to win $10,000, you'll pay up for a guy. Then I'm on a dynasty league. This one really always shocks me because guys don't go for that much. Niall Davis went for $270, right? We got Ty Montgomery at $135. The next bid was $132. But a lot of guys didn't even bid. Niall Davis was $270. The next bid was $201. Shaquiz Rogers was $190. The next bid was $60. We got Montgomery. Then Cameron Brate was the next guy. I mean, there weren't a lot of bids. Mike Davis was $3. Adam Humphries was $1. I mean, that's insane. Kendall Wright was $47. So I think what it goes to show you is not just that certain people are smarter, because they're not. I think it's you have to do more in the leagues that cost more money. And I've always said throughout the years, what makes a high stakes player a high stakes player, right? The answer to that is, I think it's a couple of things. One, the attention to detail. How much detail, how much are you reading, how much time are you spending? Two, the willingness to be aggressive. A high stakes player will pay what they need to get the guy they need. They can't mess around. They're not going to nickel and dime it. They're going to pay for a guy. You need Niall Davis? $380. Done. Right? You want to draft a guy? They'll go get him. So I think it's about the time spent, and I think it's about being aggressive. Do I agree with the bids? Not necessarily. But, I also don't pay close attention to, well, this team got him at 270 and this team needs that. And so, let me see here. Niall Davis went for 270 to the guy who's in second place in this league. And his running backs are C.J. Anderson, Matt Jones, D'Angelo Williams, Eddie Lacy, Thomas Rawls, Procise, and Niall Davis. For him, he needed it. He needed it. So then it was worth it for him. I can't blame him. He needed it. So, people need to spend money when they need to make the right play. Right? You need the right play. You need the guy. Let me go to this league here. I want to look at this again. So this was a league here where, Niall Davis went for 376 and Kendall Wright went for 349. So let me look at these teams, right? Because I thought those are big numbers. All right, so this team was 3-3. He has Latavius Murray, Darren Sproles, Jeremy Hill, Mike Gillislee, Devontae Booker, and Niall Davis. He obviously thought he needed Niall Davis. Then his receivers were Beckham, Cobb, Crowder, Curley, Rashard Matthews, Edelman, and Aiken. He figures he needs Kendall Wright in case Rashard Matthews is terrible. So this is a guy who was aggressive. He was aggressive. He's 3-3 on the season, and he figures Niall Davis might very well be his second best running back because you can't trust Latavius Murray. So I like that move. I like that aggressive move. Now, I don't know whether I would have spent all my free agent dollars. I don't know whether I would have done that. But, if you're low in points and you need to make the right move and you need to be aggressive at that time. So let's see. My problem with his team is it leaves him with $132. Right? And that's going to be hard because, my team's got 785. Somebody else has 913. Somebody else has 890. So when players come later, I'm going to look at a player later on, right? Tell you this right now. A player comes up in a week. I'm going to bid $133 because I know that this guy's out. And there's another guy with 158 and one guy with 179. I know I'm bidding if there's a player I like, minimum 180. That way I make sure 3 teams don't get him. Will other players get him? Maybe, maybe not. But I'm not going to let those guys who are low in dollar amounts sneak them in. Right? So I will look at a team's free agent dollars left and say, okay, this team's 156, this one's 158, this one's 179, this one's 132. If I bid 180, 4 teams are out. Now, if a team that has 890 wants to bid, there's nothing I can do about that. I'm going to lose. Right? He's going to get him. But I'm not going to lose out to a guy or girl who's going to be, try to get him for $30. Not going to let that happen. Not if it's a player who I think that can impact my team. Right? And that's what I'm looking for. Who can impact my team? So, all right, let's take a look at Thursday night. So we're talking about quarterbacks. I'm in on Aaron Rodgers. I am. Maybe it will be an embarrassment, but I'm in on him. I think he hasn't played well. I think that the line has given him problems. But the Bears don't have a great pass rush. They don't have a great secondary. And I think he's going to have a chance to have a good game. If he can just find any accuracy, he'll be good. And I'm going to use him. He's been bad, but I'm going to use him. I worry a little bit about Brian Hoyer tonight. I think Brian Hoyer is good. And I know that Sam Shield is not there. I know Damaris Randall's not there. The question is, will Brian Hoyer be aggressive? He hasn't been very aggressive recently. He hasn't. So if he's not going to be aggressive, that's not helping anybody. But I need him to be aggressive. At running back, I do like Jordan Howard, but I don't love Jordan Howard. I like Jordan Howard. I like him. I think Kadeem Carey got a little more carries than I wanted to see. But Green Bay's run defense has been very good. It has been good thus far. It wasn't good last week against Ezekiel Elliott. So I think Jordan Howard has a good game, not a great game. Good, not great. I told you I'm not thinking and Kadeem Carey, I'm not going to play. I don't really like Niall Davis. I don't think he's ready. I think you're going to see Ty Montgomery, and I think you're going to see Randall Cobb. I think you're going to see Niall Davis get a few carries to get him familiar with the team, but I don't think he does that much. Eddie Lacy, we know he's out. At receiver, can the Packers secondary, which is very banged up, stop Jeffrey and Meredith? And I don't think so. Jeffrey's a huge target. Huge target. He's a big dude. And there's nobody who should be able to stop Jeffrey. And Cameron Meredith has been terrific in his own right. Terrific. So without Shields, and without Quentin Rollins, and without Demarius Randall, tell me who can stop these two guys. So Brian Hoyer has to throw the ball down the field, be aggressive, and these guys can make plays. This game could be high scoring if that happens. For the Packers, come on, Jordy Nelson, who's going to Tracy Porter? He's not very good at all. Randall Cobb has looked much better as of late. I told you about Ty Montgomery. He looked good out of the backfield. I think he's exciting. I think Montgomery will be very involved. I think he can get 6 to 8 rushes, and I think he can get 6 to 8 catches. I think this is a game that he could do well in. So I really like Montgomery, and I think Jordy Nelson scores. He always seems to score in Lambeau. Always seems to score in Lambeau. I think he does. Okay? I think he does. Jeffrey and Meredith, they could do a lot if Brian Hoyer lets them. At tight end, Zach Miller's been very good. It's been very good. The Packers have been tough against tight ends. But Zach Miller has proven that he is almost matchup proof because Brian Hoyer likes him. So what that means is the better that Jeffrey and Meredith play, the better that Zach Miller will do. Right? The better they play, the better Zach Miller will do. Because if they go to Jeffrey and they go to Meredith, it's going to open up the field for Zach Miller. And if that happens, Zach Miller can take advantage of it. But I'm not trusting Niall Davis. I'm not trusting him at all. I really think that this is an Aaron Rodgers 45 attempt night. The Bears don't have a great pass rush. Rodgers should have time to throw it. If he has time to throw it, something good's going to happen. And I think this is a night where he can get over 300 yards. If Aaron Rodgers does not have a good night tonight, if things go awry for him, people better be nervous. Because he's going to have the time. He's going to have the receivers open. Because the secondary is not very good for the Bears. So if it's not that, then what is it? Then it has to be mental. It has to be Aaron Rodgers being Aaron Rodgers. And that's the problem. So we'll watch that closely. Very closely. Right now, it's time to put away the insurance cards, put away the copay. The office, it's closed, my friends. Now look, here's what I want you to do. I want you to join scoutfantasy.com. I want you to enter the promo code ROTO, that's R-O-T-O. You pay for 1 month, you get a couple more for free. And now it's on Thursday. Check out Sean Childs' amazing DFS information, and you're going to want to know about the Scout score, which basically, and we'll talk about this, the value, how many times value can they get? So if a guy gets, if he's $5,000 and he scores 20 points, I'm getting 4x. 4 times his value. 4x. 4 times his value. I want 3x on FanDuel. I want 4x on DraftKings. If I can do that, I should be able to make some money. That is my goal. Now, I always want good players, but I'm also looking for value. If I can get players plus value equals you being my next rich friend. And let me tell you something. I just spoke to Mrs. Roto. You know what we said? We can use another rich friend. There's always room in our lives for another rich friend. I'm just saying. All right, guys, go to scoutfantasy.com, enter promo code ROTO, pay for 1 month, get 2 more for free. That's what you do. All right, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll break down the games. We'll do the game day previews. We'll throw a little hint of DFS in there. And of course, you know that Scout Fantasy Sports is on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio Friday night from 10 to 12, Saturday morning from 7 to 10, and Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. All right, guys, have a great day. Be well and take care.
Thanks for listening to the Scout Fantasy Show. There's never been a better time to join the Scout Army. Visit scoutfantasy.com. Use the promo ROTO for 2 months free. And don't forget, fantasy players, please thumbs up the podcast on the iHeart app. See you next time. Go Scouts!